YouTube looks good. Facebook. Sweet. It all worked out. Look at us doing big things.
Big time.
All right. We're going to let some people jump on here before we get going, Coach.
Sounds good.
All right. Hopefully we get more than 2 viewers than I had the other day.
That might be my son upstairs and my daughter on their iPads.
Yeah. No, I mean, I told my son too, so we might get 3.
Yeah.
No, it's just hard because you want to have some type of like intro to like get everybody time to like log in, sit down, and actually join the podcast and see what's going on.
Jump in. Let's talk baseball. Let's do it.
Yeah, heck yeah. Like leave some comments this time. Like I want to see some comments. Like do something. Let me know what's going on. That's the biggest thing. Like I'm not saying that we're going to run out of stuff to talk about, but you can definitely help the situation. Give us some love here. There, I've got Facebook on, so I'll be able to keep up with it.
Let's do it.
All right, let's just jump in it, Coach. All right, everybody, welcome to Season 2, Episode 1. Well, let's call this Episode 1. I want to thank Harrison Central's head coach, Mike Valesko, for coming out. Thank you, Coach. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having us. We, like I said, anytime we get a chance to talk baseball, it's a great night.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right into it. Tell us how the winter meetings have been going, open gyms and everything like that. How's everybody looking so far?
Yeah, going great. We're healthy, and I think that's the biggest thing is, this time of the year you're trying to, build skill and compete and get after it. But I think you also have to make sure that you're not wearing yourself out. You get into some of those dog days of December when there's 2-3 inches of snow on the ground and it's cold and you're getting after it, and then you get in January and February. So it can be a little bit of a grind, but our kids they love it. We got guys that the guys that don't play winter sports, they're with us, and then you got some that are playing winter sports and they're getting their work in still. I think I'm fortunate. I think I've gone to our buildings and grounds and athletic director and I think I've asked for about 30 sets of keys and try to get as many keys into kids' hands as you can and just get as many kids at the indoor as they possibly can throughout the offseason.
Yeah. Where's your indoor building set up at? Is it at the baseball field?
No, so it's at our old school. It's at the old gymnasium underneath. It was an old shop room that we renovated. As nice as our facilities are, we're fortunate to have that. It's kind of got an old school feel to it. It's concrete walls and everything around it. It's kind of old school in there. So it's kind of cool to, we kind of get experience both sides of the facilities. Our field is second to none. And then you have the indoor that kind of, it's just an old school feel. It's fun to be in there.
We leaned on that last year with your complex and the Maz and what that place is like to play on. And still, I mean, that's like the talk of the town, Steubenville and Harrison Central now. So yeah, I guess Weirton's got their new complex too in Oak Glen. So I haven't been out there to see what those look like. So I'm curious to see.
Which is so awesome to see. It's you can sit there and be selfish and just say, oh, we care about our facilities. But if you really care about baseball in the High Valley, to see these schools spend money on spring sports, it's awesome. Not just baseball, but softball as well.
Yeah.
We work so closely with our softball program here at Harrison Central. It's awesome to see their facilities. And then, like you just said, what Toronto has and what Steubenville has and Oakland and Weirton and what Edison. It's awesome. Wheeling Park on the West Virginia side of things. It's really cool to, you could go all around the state of Ohio and the best baseball facilities are right here in the High Valley. And that's, I'm biased. I think baseball is the best sport in the High Valley. But to have the best facilities out of everywhere in the state of Ohio, I think is really special for our kids. And I think it just shows that people care about baseball and spring sports around here.
Absolutely. You can always go down that TikTok rabbit hole some days, some nights. And I know outside of some of the stadiums that I've seen around here, which are, like you said, they're beautiful nowadays, some of the things that I see in Texas are just between football and baseball fields, it's retarded. And softball fields for that matter. Like I think we're trying to stick close to them other than the football stadiums. Baseball field wise, we're trying to keep up with them. So that's definitely a thing that absolutely. So last year didn't go exactly the way that you wanted it to. We talked about your record. We're not going to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Let's just say it didn't go the way you wanted it to.
Yeah.
What do you see coming into this year that can help out to make that win record go up versus stay the same or go down?
Yeah. The record wasn't what we wanted it to be, but we talk about it all the time within our program that it's got to be process over outcome. And, if you fixate yourself on the record, then you're probably not doing a good job in what you're supposed to be doing. I tell our guys, we could schedule 27 wins. I mean, you can find them. It's not going to help you. If your goal is to be the best team in the state of Ohio, you're going to have to challenge yourselves. And when you do that, you're going to lose some baseball games, and that's part of the process. I said it, the other day, I was talking to our kids, the Dodgers are World Series champs. They're going to lose, 60 games this year. So, that's part of it. So you have to stay with the process over the outcome. Now, that being said, you got to win baseball games and, and you can preach that, but you still got to get the job done. So, we were last year kind of looking around still. We had no seniors on the roster. And I think I was unsure how that was going to play out, before the season. And I felt like every time there was a big moment the year before, we won so many close games, and you had those veteran leaders, not just Treston. Everybody knew Treston, but Drosko and Madzai and Arball and Rex and all those guys, they were just so veteran, and Wyatt Pierce that in big games, they didn't really flinch. It was just stay on course and find a way to win. Where last year I felt like we were kind of looking around saying,
when's going to be that guy?
And I told him after the one game, like, guys, he's gone. If you could sign him to a lifetime contract, I would have already.
Right.
But he was gone. And I think it took us really all season to find out, who we were and realize, okay, we got to step up and make these plays that need to be made. And I felt like we did it at the end of the season a lot better than what we did at the beginning. But it just didn't work out for us in the postseason like we had hoped it would. So I think now you have some veterans. We've got guys that have played a lot of baseball now, starting with this class, Anthony Pellegrin, 3-year starter, Tucker Snyder, a 4-year starter, Caden Dunkel, a 3-year starter, Reed Arball, a 3-year starter. We've got guys that are all over this place. Gage Stone King started as a freshman last year. We've got guys that have played a ton of big games. Tucker Snyder, he started in a state championship game 2 years ago as a sophomore, and he's back. Our, center fielder from the state runner-up team is back. Our second baseman's back. Our catcher / right fielder is back. We returned a lot of these guys, and now I think they experienced last year life after Treston, and they learned, okay, we got to make the plays. And I think it was a learning process last year, and really excited to see, those guys take another step forward and be the leaders now of this program.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go back to your junior high coach that runs that program, Ron Wood. He does a fantastic job of not just prepping the players for the high school level, but just getting game reps. I mean, he's like one of the only dudes in the Valley that'll schedule, and he don't care. He'll go out and do 60 games and not care one bit about wins or losses. He just wants the kids out on the field, getting as many reps as they can, learning from the experiences. And that goes to say, with this freshman class that you have coming in with the Miser and the younger Snyder and some of the other kids that you have coming, I mean, those 2 freshmen alone, and I know there's more. I don't know their names off the top of my head. But I know that those 2 freshmen, from what I saw in junior high in 7th and 8th grade, will help out tremendously with your returning players from last year as well.
Yeah, there's 7 of them in total. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw at some point all 7, find a way to help us win baseball games.
Absolutely.
Are 7 of them going to be in the lineup every night? No. I mean, I just told you how we got 5 guys back, that have played in so many games. but they're going to have to contribute and help us win baseball games, whether it be that they are a starter, they're a guy throwing for us in practice on Tuesday, giving us a live look because they're going to be a really good player, a pinch runner, whatever those roles are. It's a really good group. And like you said with Ryan, does a tremendous job. I just told one of my assistants, AJ Barsh, today, the best thing about them playing so many games, they all pitch, and it's like, man, they're playing so many games. And then, like you said, he's giving me a junior high schedule. And I'm like, man, they got a doubleheader Saturday, doubleheader Sunday. They play Monday. They go Wednesday, Friday, doubleheader Saturday, doubleheader Sunday. And I'm sitting there as a high school coach saying, who in the world are you pitching? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just visioning like, man, like on Wednesday, I don't know who's pitching for me, and
right.
Again, process over outcome. You find a way to just keep competing, keep developing players. He's been an extension of our voice. It's somebody I talk to daily, probably talk to more than my wife at this point, just trying to figure things out. He is all about Harrison Central trying to win baseball games.
Absolutely. 100%.
And it's been really cool to see and such a great help for us.
Yeah, he's always a contact. If I'm looking for a game, he's one of the very first ones that hey, Ryan, you got the field open.
Yeah.
Varsity plays, at our field. Hopefully they're done by 7:30. Do you want to play a late game under the lights down here? Like, he's one that you can definitely call and get a game going.
Yeah, I promise you, we'll be outside next week with the varsity. I promise you he's outside probably at some point too. It doesn't matter. It's cold. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we talked about it at practice on Tuesday. I said, listen, high school starts on Monday. It's going to be 50 degrees on Monday. Mm-hmm. I said, I can guarantee you the high school team's going to be out on the field. So I was like, guess where I'll be at? I'm going to be there on Monday working with the infielders. I said, if we can get out in a timely manner, I'm going to cancel practice Tuesday. Y'all are going to come on Monday night, evening. We're going to get around the ground balls and get it done.
Yeah.
And I said, if the weather's nice on a Saturday, say 45. And their all eyes went like this. And I was like, I said 45. It's 45. Bet your butts, we're going to go out on the field because Coach Perk's going to play in 45-degree weather as long as it ain't raining or snowing.
I think we've canceled one game in 3 years on the turf. And my first year, I convinced, or at least I told our guys, I don't know if I convinced them. I don't know if they really believed it. I told them that it was actually scientifically, we tested it, and it was 9 degrees warmer on the turf. We didn't test it, but we convinced them that 30 is actually 39. So if it's 32, we're in the 40s,
Right.
So we are convincing them that it's so much hotter on that turf. I mean, I guarantee if you call a couple of our past players and even our current players, I tell them all the time that being cold is a mindset.
For sure.
And I've got them convinced that, and it's funny is I was in the cafeteria a couple of weeks ago and our breezeway door was open where, they were loading up stuff or, bringing stuff in the cafeteria. And I was standing beside our center fielder, Caden Dunkel, and I was like, man, it's cold in here. And he looked at me, no hesitation, said, being cold is a mindset. And you're 100% correct, man.
My very first game I ever coached was against Wellsville. It was a Saturday morning, blowing sideways snow. And I'm freezing because I didn't know what first game, didn't know what I was getting myself into. I'm freezing. He looks at me and I go, are we canceling? He goes, Coach Hump, I'm going to tell you one thing and one thing only. We don't cancel baseball games. Snow will be out by 12:30. We'll be on the field by 12:45. And sure enough, it stopped. The snow melted on the infield. 12:45, we were hitting the field running. I was like, this is wild. This is crazy.
Yeah, we played through some snowstorms.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about travel ball with your son and them here in a second. Mm-hmm. I can refer back. What's up? You want to make your cameo appearance?
There you go. What's up, girl?
This is Kinsley, it's my daughter. So we were at Tarentum at no off season.
Yeah.
And it was Braxton and them were all 9 years old, about what your son is.
Yeah.
We played our first game at 8:00, snowing, sleeting. It probably was 38 degrees. Hands are freezing. And my rule is when you hit the field, you take the hoodies off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably a bad move on my part. So I gave in, and it was like second inning. I was like, listen, put your hoodies on. And I said, I'm cold, stay warm. So then we ended up winning that game. And I looked at the umpire. I was like, dude, are we calling this? Like, this is unsafe for these kids. Like, their jerseys are now soaking wet and we're going to play another game. I said, we forfeit. He's like, you forfeit. I was like, dude, I'm I'm putting the safety of the kids in mind here. Like this is not baseball. Like at this
Yeah.
point, we got our win. We won on a Sunday. Like I'll take that.
Yeah.
So they ended up actually canceling the tournament like 20 minutes later anyway. So I was like, maybe I just jump started something anyways. So I'll take that hit.
Yeah.
So yeah, baseball in the Valley. When you start off, good luck. So let's go back to your winter workouts and everything like that. I know it's kind of young in the season yet. You really haven't started your year. I know you start on Monday. What in your mind right now is going to be the strongest position that you have?
Yeah, I would say our two outfielders. Tucker Snyder played shortstop for us. He played left field for us as a sophomore and freshman. We feel good about some young infielders that gives us some flexibility. And I think if Tuck, if we have some guys that can help us in the middle infield and allows us some flexibility with moving Tucker to the outfield, I think we'll have two outfielders that are as good as anybody that we've ever had. I think he is a phenomenal baseball player to begin with, and Tucker can play so many positions. Again, a kid that batted in the 4-hole for us as a sophomore on the state runner-up team. So, I mean, he's got so many big at-bats. He's a 350-plus career hitter for us. So I think he's going to help us win a lot of games. Caden Dunkel in center field is maybe we have some debates on our staff. Brandon Mitchell is a really good outfielder for us, and he's on my staff, and he checks in every now and then to make sure that I still think he's one of the best outfielders we've had. Caden Dunkel can go and get the baseball in center field. He's special. So I think he's really good. I think the biggest thing is we have guys that just, Reed Arball, for example, is going to play in the infield for us. He started second base as a sophomore, played first base last year. We'll find a spot for him. We don't know for sure how this lineup's going to shake out. He was hit by pitch 20 times last year.
God, dog.
And it's, and then as a sophomore, he was hit, I think it was like 17 times. And you sit there, and I've had this conversation with Tom Marker at Olentangy, and, who's done studies of hit by pitches and leading the wins and runs and stuff. I told Reed the other day, I said, if those are singles instead of hit by pitches, I said, you're batting 600 and you're all American. I mean, like, let alone all Eastern District and all state, like you are the best player in the country. We have guys that just buy in, and, you get an inside pitch. We're not diving out of the way. We're taking it. We're finding ways to get on base, score runs, because at the end of the day, you score runs, you win baseball games.
Correct.
And I think we have guys that really buy into that. I mentioned a couple minutes ago, Gage Stone King, who had a really good freshman season for us last year, a really big, byproduct of Ryan Wood and playing with that group all summer. Last year as a freshman, he hit 340 for us as a freshman, leadoff spot, 8 strikeouts all year. As a freshman, that's pretty darn special.
Yeah. I met Gage, I think, when they first moved back to this area, if I'm not mistaken. So probably 4 or 5 years ago, he came out and played a travel ball season with us.
Yeah.
And I got real familiar with Gage there for a little bit. So it's nice to see him do well.
Yeah. And a guy that kind of, really keeps him in bay and a really good leader for us. Another senior, Anthony Pellegrin, who's played so many big games for us. We got a new assistant coach, and he told me, he goes, hey, I met Anthony at school. Anthony plays basketball, so he's not at winter workouts as much as he typically is. And he's like, I can't remember the kid's name. He came up, introduced himself to me. He said he was like a 40-year-old man, just so mature the way he handled himself. And I knew instantly. I said, Anthony Pellegrin. He said, yeah, that was the name. And it's just, I just think we're a more mature baseball team. And I think those growing pains last year helped us. Our number one last year was a sophomore, Colton Rudder. So we expect him to take another big jump for us. So it's really good players. We're fortunate that I think we have a really good depth right now. We'll have good players that, they might not get 80 at bats this year, and that's okay, but buy into the role that we're going to ask of you, and keep this thing moving along.
So do you think you'll actually be able to coach almost like a college roster, where depending on who's pitching, lefty versus righty, you might be able to put in a different lineup versus?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a ton of lefties, especially, on the mound, but in the lineup. I guess, Brady McAfee's a kid that started for us last year as a sophomore, again, hit 300 for us. And he swings left-handed. Gage Stone King swings left-handed. Tucker Snyder. I said we don't have a lot of lefties, and I just named three.
Three of them, yeah.
I mean, we're going to have options, and I don't know if we had options last year. Just being honest, I don't know if we had that depth that if a kid was struggling, all right, who do we go to? Or
Right.
a hit situation. I think we have kids that will be in, role situations for us that can come off the bench if we need them to and get a hit for us.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to hit you with this one now too, and you can either wait to tell me this in a text message off air or whatever. What is your opinion of what is your weakest position that needs the most help starting off?
Well, I don't know if it's a weakness, but as you mentioned, we have a really good freshman class, and they're going to have to help us win baseball games. And with freshmen, they're still going to be freshmen, and there's going to be some growing pains at times for them, and I told one the other day, I said, you've always played 14U and 15U. Now you're playing 19U when you think about it, and that's a big jump. And that's where this senior group, we have to lean on them heavy, as good as these younger players are. That's great. We can't win games without this older group. We have to. They
Right.
have to be our best players. They have to. And no matter how talented a young group is, we have to have veterans win baseball games for us. So
Absolutely.
I think, I don't want to say it's a weakness, but it's something that we're going to have to mature as the season goes along with those young players.
So would you say that was that freshman class is probably your upside position? Like if you can get them rolling, that will help.
Yeah. I think they fill needs for us.
Yeah.
In some positions. We need, we Tucker Snyder is putting the ball in the gap, last year and led the team in extra base hits. We need more guys to put the ball in the gap,
sure.
and like you said, we got some young guys that there's some pop in those bats, and they can put the ball in the gap for us, and we're going to need them to do so.
All right. Well, I want to venture now into OHSSA, and you just said your term as president is now ex-president, but you're still on the committee. What is it like setting up and getting things organized for the winter meetings? With the coaches and just the speakers at the clinic. What does it take as a community to get that going?
Yeah, it's a lot of people probably don't realize our coaches association. It's the second largest behind the state of Texas in the country. So it's really big. You're talking 1,300 coaches, coming to our clinic for three days in Columbus. That it's chaos a little bit, being on the board and running that stuff and and helping run it and all that. Fortunate that there's a lot of really good help. Guys that have been doing it for a long time, whether it's, Craig Kyle and Drew Kirby and Ray Benjamin, guys across the state, Scott Manahan, embrace, those relationships and kind of dive in and immerse yourself in that. And you kind of, get into baseball heaven a little bit, Carrick at Toledo Central. It's cool because you're getting all parts of the state of Ohio, but it's guys that just love high school baseball. And you meet some really incredible people, but it's crazy. I mean, you're trying to put a clinic lineup together one year and you're talking, 30 some speakers. You're trying to fly in across the country and map out a schedule. Okay, Thursday night's going to look like this. Friday's going to look like this. Saturday's going to look like this. You have a budget. You have the Hall of Fame banquet. It is nonstop. I mean, it's insane. And then you're bringing in, 60 plus vendors. And everybody has different needs. I mean, it's
they want to be up front. They want to be in the back.
Yeah. Everybody's got different needs. So you're trying to make everything work. And then you're basically throwing a giant get together for 12 to 1,300 people. It's a lot of work that goes into that. So,
for sure. Now, is there a good way to delegate and say hey, you're responsible for finding 3 fielding clinic talkers to come in and speak, and you're doing pitching, and you're doing vendors, and you're like, how does that all work as far as?
Yeah, so you kind of go in a rotation. So, 1 year when you go through it, you're in charge of the vendors. You are solely responsible for every vendor. And you lean on, the past vendors and relationships and stuff. And it's cool. You'll have somebody reach out and say, hey, I know this little mom and pop place in Massillon. They would benefit from being at the clinic. Can you get a hold of them?
Yeah.
So you reach out to them and see if they want to come, or, it was awesome. Swearingen Bat was one that, reached out to him a couple of years ago, and it didn't work out just because of, I think it was an illness or, something, flu at that time of the year. But you're reaching out to those type of companies, and that's the ones, it means so much to the High Valley. So you try to get those guys in, and it's like, come and sell some bats. You got a great product, come push it, and myself, DJ Butler at Barnesville, and Nathan Pratty, who's at Coshocton, we all, that's where we get our fungos, and we tell everybody, listen, like, these are great fungos, we got some really good ones here in the High Valley, give them a try. So it's cool to see that. And then the following year you do the clinic lineup, and again, you are responsible for the clinic lineup. It is that falls on you.
Praise to that person, because you have 5 clinics going on at the same time. One pitching, one outfield, one defense, one 401k investing in your younger teams. Like, I saw that one. Like,
which if anybody ever gets a chance, that's Billy Gamble at Massillon Jackson. Give him a little shout out here. He's got a really good youth investment one. And if you've ever gone into the Northeast Ohio part of the state for travel baseball, you see Massillon Jackson at everything. Jackson Purple, Jackson Gold, Jackson. Yeah, it is.
We definitely had our run-ins with Jackson Purple this past season. Our 11U team, Braden Moses' team, shout out to Braden.
Mm-hmm.
His team, unfortunately, were not able to get past the Jackson Bears Purple. And a couple of stints against them.
Yeah.
The 11U team, Hunter Rothacker's team, I think they faced them once. And then the 12U, now 13U team, they beat them at Cedar Point, and then we beat them to go on to a championship on their home turf in Massillon. And we actually came out with rings for that one. So that was a pretty sweet little victory.
You beat Massillon Jackson in baseball. You deserve a ring, though.
It was tough. Yeah. They brought out this lefty that we haven't seen. We didn't see him the first time we played him in Cedar Point. And they brought this lefty out, and we're like, "Oof, let's get that pitch count up so we can get him out of the game," because we knew after him they didn't have anybody else.
Yeah.
So
luckily we got Jackson at one of the tournaments as well, and I try to explain to our kids, like, guys, you don't realize this now because you're 9 and 10 years old, but Massillon Jackson's really good at baseball.
Oh yeah.
So when it means
have you played it? Have you played in Massillon where they play at, where they got their big facility up?
Incredible.
You drive by it and you think, Massillon Jackson, that's a pretty nice all sports facility, and they're like, no,
baseball.
That's just baseball only.
Yeah,
and I was like, what are y'all doing in there to have baseball only in a complex that looks like it'll hold 3 football fields?
Yeah,
and they're like,
and again, you talk about being on the board. I got to know his dad really well, Frank Gamble, a legend as well. Our 10U team is up there. We get rained out at a tournament. So I said, I'm going to get a hold of Billy. I need a place to practice. I text Billy, hey, we're up here. We're in Massillon. We got rained out. I don't want to drive up here for nothing. He said, give me 10 minutes. I'll be at my facility, And so you talk about being on the board and what it means, with coaches and the relationships that you get to build. It's stuff like that. That's like, all right, like, these guys just care about baseball,
Right. So we had that kind of connection. We went to Columbus, and if you ever played at Berliner, 32 fields, not a single batting cage. There's no batting cage.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is dumb. Like, we come out for a state tournament, 32 fields, all turf. It's beautifully set out, but there's not a single batting cage. So I was like, all right, Coach Perk says this place in Hilliard's pretty nice. We're going to go to the Bow Dome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we call them up. We walk into the Bow Dome, and there's just like Herschel, Bo Jackson and Nike stuff everywhere. And then you walk through the doors, and you're like, holy smokes! Like, how do we get one of these in Jefferson County area? Like, we've got to have one of these places. You
Yeah.
know, and luckily the guy that actually runs the Dome is from Steubenville area,
Yeah.
Neil Packnick. So I was like, me and him started talking, and you know, we got that relationship working.
Yeah.
We're not going to announce that, but we got it working.
Yeah.
So you know, I'm happy where things ended up with going out to
Sure.
Hilliard just to get some cage work in. So it
Yeah.
worked out pretty well so
Yeah.
far.
If you do get one of those bow domes down here, I got some great land for it somewhere out here in Harrison County.
Oh, we can find that. I mean, I think right off of 43, right as you're going towards Richmond, all that on the right hand side by that distribution center. It's
I think
loaded.
Caddis is better. I think Caddis has better land.
Hey, I'll make that drive. I'll definitely make that drive. So yeah, I mean, let's shout out to Swearingen Bat Company again. We both played in Winter League at the Highlands in Wheeling. We got all of our winter wood bats for that league, that tournament, whatever you want to call it, through Swearingen. He gave us a good deal. So shout out to Mike Swearingen, JP Booth, and Swearingen Bat Company for getting everybody hooked up on that part of it. Also want to say congratulations to you. You came out victoriously at the winter shootout there in Wheeling. So congratulations with that. How'd that feel to the players?
Yeah, it was awesome. We got a really good group of young players that just want to play baseball. My phone is dinging. I got a new computer, and I apologize if that is going on.
You're good.
I don't know. I don't know how to mute it. Just because I got a new computer here in the last couple of days. It was cool. It was again another complex in the High Valley. You know, at the Highlands. If you haven't been there, it's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome. So it was cool. Competition was probably better than I thought it would be for a winter league. I wasn't real sure what it'd be, but couple good travel teams in there, and it was fun. So anytime you get a chance to compete, it was fun. You know, the first time that we played in the winter league, you know, we ended in July, took some time off. We played like 5 fall games, nothing crazy. We didn't practice. I said, guys, we're 10 years old. We practice so much. We play so much. We're just going to play fall games and go play football, go play soccer, go play anything else you want to play. Go do it.
Right.
I'll schedule these fall games around all of that. We'll meet. We'll make sure we got 9 guys we play. So we played like 5 fall games, and then we did the winter league. And I said, hey, instead of doing practices, we'll just do the winter league. If you can't do it, that's no problem. But we're going to play up here, and we're not going to do practices. So the first time we got back together for the winter league, you know, it looked like we hadn't played in 5 years. And it's like, God. And I told them, I'm like, guys, just be patient. You know, I'm talking to their coaches, and they're telling me, oh yeah, we practiced 3 days this week and the last week, and I'm like, guys, but you know, we're just getting back together. We'll be okay. So, you know, then you saw it over the next 5 weeks, and we started to play like ourselves there at the end and played really well. We got a really good group of young players, and I think I told you this last year. You come to our games, we got 500 bat boys.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm sure it'll keep getting more and more as some of their older brothers are playing. Like you mentioned, the Snyder kid, you know, Hunter's brother, Max, plays on my 10U team. So I'm sure Max will be at the games, and Max hits bombs for 10-year-olds. I call Max Ruth in the cage. That dude can smoke the ball for 10 years old. He is going to be.
It runs in the family, then that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Dad was all Ohio for us, you know, at Harrison Central as well. So Dad really good. You know, Bren probably gets left out. Softball player in the mix, junior high. Shout out to Bren. Okay. She's going to be a really good softball player for us as well. And then you got Hunter and Max. So that family can swing the bat all together. So
the softball coach is going to have a field day with that 8th grade class, because I forget what grade Macy's in, but Emma, you had 2 transfers from St. Clairsville that went out that way. I do lessons with both the Jarvis girls there. So we've been working on their swing for like the last 2 months. And Emma's been crushing the ball here lately. So you might see it on my Facebook. They might have made a cameo once or twice on the Facebook page there. So
They got some good players coming, and they got some good ones there now. You know, freshman, sophomore group's really good. You got, I mentioned Anthony Pellegrin, who's a really good player for us. His sister, Nick, you know, really good player, runs in the family. Aunt's West Lib's coach. Uncle played at Jesuit when it was still Jesuit. He was on the Final Four team in 2013. So the Pellegrins know how to play baseball and softball. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Now, would you say winning the Winter League for your son what was more memorable to him, winning the Winter League and being his team, or was it Dad's team off of Nemus? What was more exciting to him?
That's a good question. Man, I would say the Final Four state runner-up team. He loves those guys. Those guys. I would probably say that probably was really cool video. The day we won the semifinal game, PBR. They do a great job of covering high school baseball, and they were at the state tournament, and we win the semifinal game. And there's a really cool video of it pans to our dugout as we're coming out, and it's our bat boys who's all on the 10U team, a bunch of them, and they are just they're jumping up and down and stuff. And it became one of my favorite videos and pictures I got from that run. And then, unfortunately, you lose the next day in the state championship, and I think he cried the whole bus ride home. So, and so did I. I think just realizing those guys are graduating. So, I would say that Final Four team. It's you go on those runs, you don't understand it until you do it.
Right.
My wife and I talked about that last year when Indian Creek was going on that run. And she's like, man, you remember how much fun that was last year? Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, it was intense.
There were some times where I don't know if it was fun, stressful. I don't know what you want to call it. It's so special for your whole family. It really is. So, having my son in the dugout for that and being able to play catch with him, the Davis State Championship game in right field at Canal Park was, pretty special. So
I can only imagine.
Maybe
awesome. One day. Maybe one day.
Now, that being said, winning a 10U championship, and this, that is the World Series for those guys.
Absolutely.
It is. And the Highlands does a great job. They give you a T-shirt like when you win the World Series. So you get a T-shirt when you win the championship, and you get I think they gave some medallions and stuff. So like they treat it well, and it's cool. It's cool when you see it. Some of the teams that you beat at that age, because you realize, like, man, we're competing with a bunch of kids from a small area, and man, it's rewarding because you feel like you're taking the right steps.
Absolutely. Now, if I ever get this podcast up and going the way that I want to, I'm going to have it set up kind of like Adam Schefter in the background. And I'm going to have my flex behind me with all the medals and trophies and stuff that we've won over the years.
Yeah,
they're over there out of the way right now. But
it's funny. Here, my son's got one right here. It's in my basement. I got Final Four everything, and I got this giant Indian Creek 10U tournament trophy. So
there you go. That's a start, man. It's always awesome.
Yeah,
I know the first one that we won, people still complained and was like, "Oh, that wasn't a real travel ball tournament." And I was like, "You're right, it wasn't, but it was an opportunity for these kids to learn how to win."
Yeah.
And then once they learned how to win and how to maintain that on a Sunday, I mean, it finally started coming around. And then the first one that we won as a Yeti organization was even more great. We had a walk-off win in the game before to come back and win. And then we beat, I want to say it was some team out of Pittsburgh. Can't remember who it was. But we beat them and went off and won. My mom was in town. So that was always nice. She came up from Texas for that tournament, and she was at the ball field from literally 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. all Sunday. And I was like, I mean, this is what our Sundays are like, Mom. I said, if we go on a run, we go on a run. Like, it's not usually like a one and done type thing. Like, we go. And I was like, are you tired? Do you want to take a break? Like, I'll find a way home. She's like, no, this is great. This is fun. She just sat in her chair, sitting next to my wife, Jen, and eating the strawberries and grapes and just watching games and taking all the videos.
It's funny because it's, when you get a good group of parents and families that are invested, it makes it so much more enjoyable. And that's what we have. We have that first. We have such a good investment from all of our families. And like you just said, it's, you're playing at 10 o'clock, but then you don't play till 2:30. And I look over and there's 75 kids just crushing the watermelon and the grapes. And it's the best. It really is.
It's an awesome play. Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah.
I'll challenge any of your parents to a cookie off. I've got a grandma that makes the absolute best chocolate chip cookies you've ever tasted in your life, and she brings a Tupperware, and they're gone in 2 minutes.
I am a sugar guy, so
Same.
if I'm on my last meal, it's including a lot of candies and cookies and stuff. So I'll have to try those for you.
Yeah, we'll have to get the schedules figured out, and if you're nearby, man, I'm gonna bring some out to you for sure. Because, dude, we had our night at the races, and I first thought, hey, will you make a batch of cookies for the night at the races? She's like, absolutely, Jeremy, I got you. I was like,
that's awesome.
Got you a free ticket. So I want to talk about PBR for a second. I don't your event that you're hosting May 9th and May 10th. That's not a PBR event, correct?
It's not. We've had conversations and shared messages, trying to get them there. And there's so many places in the state of Ohio now that's doing events. There's one in Defiance that day. And that lineup is stupid loaded. It's incredible. So we're hoping to get somebody down there to cover it. And again, really good baseball. I mean, you're talking Toronto, Newark Catholic, two teams that could easily win it, in their divisions. St. Clairsville, district champ last year. And they returned, the Saunders kid who can throw it. Obviously I think we're really good. And Ridgewood and Wheeling Central and so Indian Creek, I mean, Licking Valley, I mean, Indian Creek is as loaded as anybody in the state of Ohio. So really good teams and really good players. And, hopefully PBR is there and be able to showcase some of these guys.
Absolutely. You'll have to send me that schedule so we can get it posted for everybody to see. I know May 9th, which is a Friday, Harrison Central plays Chippewa Chips, and they're from Doylestown. How far away is that from here?
Yeah, Northeast Ohio a little bit. Plays some really good teams.
Okay.
They play the Waynedales, the Highlands, those teams in that area. So sometimes their schedule or their record's not great, but when you dive into who they're playing, that
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes
sense.
And
the nightcap there is Ridgewood, Wheeling Central. If you're a baseball fan in the High Valley, go watch Wheeling Central play this year. Really good, a lot of arms, really good baseball team. Even young players. The Rosnick kid's a sophomore who's one of the best players in the state of Ohio for his grade. In West Virginia and Wheeling Central, but goes to the Ohio PBR events. And Ridgewood just probably the one team that I got more respect for than anyone in our district. So
I was going to say Ridgewood's in your district, if I'm not mistaken.
I
remember seeing
we've had some battles. Them out. Yeah, we've had some battles with them. They caught the tough break in COVID year that the year before they were state runner up, and I think they returned 8 starters, maybe 9. And the COVID year happened, and could have easily been state champs the year before, and could have easily been state champs that year. But you talk to Chad Laney at Ridgewood, they don't complain about it. They just keep competing and keep getting better. So really good baseball that weekend for sure.
Yeah. So I got your schedule up. You open up at Sandy Valley. You got Brook, Beaver Local for 2, Buckeye, Steubenville. That's a pretty good little, Steubenville is always going to be a tough one there.
Sure.
We don't know what Beaver Local is going to be. That coach is on year 2 now.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what Beaver Local, how they're going to jump and see what they do. East Liverpool, Coach May, he always finds a way to put that roster together to be at least be competitive. And then, back-to-back days?
Yeah, Coach. Let's go. Back-to-back days. Let's get it.
All right. Back-to-back days against Indian Creek here. Home and home session there. Then you got Monroe Central, Oak Glen, and then this stretch right here.
Yeah.
Lord Almighty.
Yeah, we better mature.
I mean, you're getting them towards the 3/4 way of the season, but St. Clairsville, Steubenville, Edison, and then you come into town with Chippewa.
Yeah,
man,
we still got Toronto lurking. You keep going down, you still got Toronto a couple times.
Well, I wasn't gonna do that one. Doing that one, I wanted to focus on that 4 game stretch right there because I think that's as tough as Toronto can be. I do this because I'm trying not to be such a homer. Like I know I have Toronto gear on. I don't always want to talk about Toronto. This is your day. This is your session. I don't always want to bring light to what I do over here. This is for you. So that 4 game stretch though, that's a pretty tough one there. I know St. Clairsville 26 wins last year. Clay Manning did report to me and say that they lost 5 starters off Steubenville, but they're They've got a loaded freshman class
Their
coming in.
jerseys
So
still say Big Red, so they're going to think, and
correct.
believe and understand, the program that they got, and they'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Colopy, we already talked about him kind of off air about what he's going to have on that roster and the potential that they have. JD Henderson, really solid catcher. Bryce Rogers, long out in center field. They're going to have some speed. They're going to have the capability to cause havoc and do some things good out there. So I'm curious to see what this 4-game stretch right here looks for you after you're done. I feel like you're gonna take some hits off the chin here. Now I just want to see you punch back on that one.
For sure.
Yeah. And then you got Monroe Central, like you said, and then there's your 2 with Toronto, the home and home that we always set up after that. But I mean, that's a 3-game stretch right there for sure. Toronto, St. Clairsville, Toronto. You never know how those games are going to end and start, for that matter. We can go back to that one game before your state run.
we talk about those games all the time. We've had the strangest games with at the back end of that, with Toronto. It's I'll tell a quick funny story about the one game. We were scheduled to play St. Clairsville on the Saturday, the very next day. So I remember seeing Tom Sleva there, and they were scouting and gave him a quick wave and stuff. And we were getting rain that night and the next day. We were up 8 runs on Toronto. Okay, going into the 6th inning, if I remember it correctly, maybe 5th, but we're up 8 runs. We got 10 run. I mean, they scored 18 runs. Yeah. So we get on the bus, and my phone's ringing. It's from Tom, and so I got to answer it. I'm like, Tom, what's up? I'm not real happy. We just give up 18 runs to get 10 run, and he's trying to figure out if we're going to play JV the next day because of the rain and move games. And he says, why are you so mad? And I said, Tom, we just got beat. We were up 8 runs and just got 10 run. He said, no, I left in the 6th inning. You were up 8. I said, Tom, we got 10 run. I mean, it's, he didn't believe me. And I think he eventually understood through the tone of my voice that
it was real.
Yeah, I was very upset. So, we've had some strange games with Toronto, that's for sure. We've had some really good ones too.
For sure.
And even the strange games. I don't know if they were good games. I say it all the time. Don't confuse good and competitive. Just because it's a competitive game does not make it a good game. And we've had some games with them that have gone 17-16. That's not a good baseball game. That's a competitive game. That's not a good game,
But I think that was the game that I was referring to, that 15-14 game where y'all jumped out, 10-0 in the top of the first?
Yeah.
And then
got beat.
Yeah.
Got beat.
Leave it at that. Yeah.
The season finished well for us, so.
Yeah, that's the next thing. Yes, it finished exactly not exactly, but you did exactly do where you ended up where you wanted to end up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just wasn't on the right side, but you did amazing things that year for sure. So the last thing I want to close out with is I just want to kind of go back. Nemeth started at Dayton. He's at Slippery Rock now.
Yeah.
What led him to Slippery Rock and his decision to enter the transfer portal?
Yeah, just wanted to play more. Loved it down Dayton, but came in with a couple other catchers and guys that played the same position. And, it was one of those things where at the time, just kind of talking to his coaches, where do I stand next year as a sophomore? And it was probably in a similar role. And, it wasn't, no hard feelings. It was just, I want to play.
Right.
And, if you get to know Tress, he just wants to play games. And, he went on a couple of visits, a handful of Division I schools offered, MAC schools right away. And he told me, I'm going to go to the best fit and the place where I can just play baseball.
Yeah.
And, Slippery Rock had his major. That was a big thing for him. High academic kid, valedictorian in high school, had his engineering major. So he loves it. Easy drive. It had a really good fall. Asked him, what happens, in this day and age of being able to transfer basically unlimited times. What happens if you blow up and, bat, 350? What are you going to do? And I'm staying at Slippery Rock. I love it here. I'm
Nice.
happy. He's happy. So it's fun to see him smile and play baseball again. So,
Yeah.
so he's at Slippery Rock. And then Trey Rex, who was at Akron, moved on to JUCO in Wharton in Texas.
Yeah, I saw that. I did
yeah.
some research. I was like, where is Wharton County at?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, dang, he went all the way to like Southwest Houston.
Yeah. And again, had the conversation, we had great conversations in the fall about this, because he got, some innings as a freshman at Akron.
Yeah.
Had a really good outing at Wake Forest and pitched against Ohio State and Michigan. So he's pitching in some big moments.
Yeah.
I think there's kids that want to take risk and they want to bet on themselves. And it was, hey, I got an opportunity. I can bet on myself, see how far I can develop, and where does it lead to? I'm going to take a shot, and can I get to somewhere down south and play? And I think that's, probably the mecca for college baseball, right? Like you get,
he's playing Paris Junior College, Temple, Navarro, Blinn Junior College right outside A&M. He's playing all teams that I'm familiar with, as far as being JUCO dominant in that area. I mean, you're definitely speaking my language. So that when I saw that, I was like, Caddis, Houston, like, what's going on here? Like something had to have happened. He had a connection there, or maybe an old friend.
No, it really didn't. And when you hit the portal, you see the 6'6" lefty. The phone was nonstop with schools trying to get him on campus for visits.
Really?
And it was, again, he didn't want to leave Akron to go to another MAC school. Nothing against a MAC school, but it would have been, why leave then? It was, I want to take a chance of getting somewhere down south and see where it leads to. And just kind of taking a shot on himself, getting outside of his comfort zone and stuff. And I mean, he had it between that and another JUCO in Arkansas when it came down to it. So just really trusting his instincts and taking a shot. And, it's been cool to see, and, texting him and his family the last couple, weeks. And, it's, as looking at the JUCO schedule, they're, a dozen games in or close to it, now. And, he had the flu, I think, just like everybody else here in the, around us right now had the flu. So we battled through that. And as as a pitcher, that takes so much out of you pretty quickly. But he's healthy and just having fun playing baseball.
That's good. So when they enter the transfer portal, coaches reach out to you, or are they? They reach out to you.
Yeah.
So that relationship doesn't really kind of end at all. Like it's nonstop.
No. And we preach that here. We want those guys around us, whether they play baseball at the next level or they're not. I can tell you numerous times that that group, a lot of them, come over here and watch the Steelers play on Monday Night Football and stuff. So it's really special to still have those connections and relationships. And, it's got to be bigger than baseball. If it's only about baseball, then, this isn't going to work. You got to build that relationship. And that's what's fun. We have former players on our staff, so something's connecting there with a bunch of them. And, you can't please everyone. And we know that that's just how coaching works. And not everything's going to end in a honeymoon situation. You want it to, but sometimes it doesn't. But those relationships, they're authentic, so when Trey entered the portal, he put my information down, and, happy to assist him in that process.
Nice. That's always good to have, for sure. I didn't know it worked. I didn't know even after their freshman year, if they come back to you. Like, I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, they still work out. Both of those guys obviously work out at our place, and we've had so many guys from the High Valley. It's an open door policy. I tell those guys, they can come whenever they want, reach out to them. I want my guys to see what college guys look like. You want to watch, what Braylon Bloomquist looks like. We'll get Braylon in here. His brother's now on our staff, and I want him in here and see what a dude at Wright State looks like. They're really good. And you want to play Division I baseball? Do you look like him?
Right.
And do you work as hard as he does? When it's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, are you in here like Treston is? And if the answer is no, that's fine. But college baseball might not be for you.
Right. We were fortunate enough. We got obviously we have Hunter Rothacker coaching for one of our teams, and he's a specimen.
Yeah.
When he walks through the door, he catches people's eyes.
Sure.
And then, we were fortunate enough to using that field down at State Lake. So Tristan Hott, who played at Wright State, was unfortunately on the wrong side of that whole Tennessee game in the College World Series spot. When he walks through the doors, he catches your eye. He came out and talked to our kids, about, how to prepare for a weekend and prepare and mentally prepare and everything like that. So we were fortunate enough to have him come and talk to our guys. This Valley has dudes.
I had this conversation with Justin Clifford the other day. Again, I'm biased. I'm a baseball coach. Baseball is the best sport in the High Valley. And that's not a knock on any other sport. I think we have great sports, but it's the one sport, we talk about the Buckeye League, in general. And you say, okay, Buckeye, us, we in the last 10 years, we've been the Final Four twice. Barnesville's been there. Indian Creek's been there. Cambridge has been the Elite Eight. St. Clairsville's been in the Final Four. It's the only sport that you can say that.
Right. Yeah.
Bel Air's been in the Elite Eight. We've been there, additional times. It's really good. Martin's Ferry's been in the regionals, and it's a darn good league, that's for sure. And, you go around, whether it's, you see Michael Grova, pitching for the Dodgers or, so many Division I guys, you can name a dozen from the Buckeye 8,
for sure.
Surrounding schools, Toronto's so fortunate to look at, the players they got. They got guys in the pro system, and Edison has, and Steubenville with Calvin Bickerstaff now and stuff.
Yeah.
It seemed like a stretch there for a while. We'd see Tristan Hott, and then it's like, all right, on Wednesday you got Calvin Bickerstaff. And then next week you get to play Toronto. And it's like, geez.
Yeah. He hit that stretch probably his freshman year where he saw the best of the best that his freshman year for sure.
Yeah.
With Bickerstaff and Carafa probably, Clegg and all them guys. So now with the way that this new rule works with JUCO and having your 4 years of eligibility, are you pushing for your players more on the JUCO level just to kind of mature and build up? Or if you think that they're ready, do you push them D2, D1?
It's funny, because, we had two guys that entered the portal basically, pretty close to similar time. Tresson did immediately after his freshman year, and then Trey did after, the fall of his sophomore year.
Yeah.
There were two different scenarios. So, I remember having that conversation with Tress, and it was like, I don't think JUCO's for you. I think you need academics was so important, and just finding a good fit. He wasn't so much worried about, step 2 to lead to step 3. It was, I want step 2 to be step 2 and that's it, and be done with that. Where, Trey was open and honest, said, like, I want step 2 to lead to step 3, and I want step 3 to be a big splash for me, potentially. Yeah. So, okay, then it is JUCO for you, Right. So I think it's a case-by-case situation, Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is, and you're trying to tell these kids, and some guys are going to go to school in general, whether it's baseball or not, some guys are going to go to college. There's enough opportunities now in Harrison County and the High Valley that I can go and work at a gas and oil plant and make $100,000 too.
Right. Right out of high school, which is crazy.
Yeah. So it's like, I've had some kids where I say, I don't know if college is for you. I mean, like, you got this opportunity. That's tough to pass up.
Right.
I think the biggest thing is you try to tell these guys, if you love baseball, find a way to play it at the next level if you can. And
absolutely,
it doesn't have to be D1. It doesn't. I see Jay Kruper at Muskingum College, and they've played at our place, and they will again this year. I've seen them come to our place, and you are getting an unbelievable experience at Muskingum at D3. And it's like, man, I've seen other teams play, and I've seen D1s and stuff, and it's like, this would be hard to pass up on. And if you get an opportunity, if you love baseball, go play it. I mean, it's
There's a lot of people that don't understand that there's a lot of JUCO teams that are around the U.S. that could hands down go out there. I'm just going to use A&M because they're the number one team and give A&M fits in a 3-game set.
And Gilmore at Coastal Carolina, who retired now, and a couple years ago. I remember him speaking at our Ohio clinic. He said that. He said there's D2 schools that are right down the road from us at Coastal Carolina, and he's 6 months removed from winning a national championship at the Division I level. And he said, I am not playing these D2 schools because on a Wednesday night, the kid that they're throwing is probably as good as a kid that I'm throwing, and it's a no-win situation for me. I can lose to these D2 schools. And you see that. It was Baldwin, Wallace, or somebody a couple years ago. I remember they played Akron, a Division I, and, I mean, just took it to them. And there's just good baseball everywhere. I mean, you can find good baseball anywhere, that's for sure.
Yeah, hands down. Well, Coach, that's going to conclude today's episode. I want to say thank you again for coming. This is the second year that we've done this, and it seems to be getting better and better every year. I know that I was hesitant on even starting season 2 up, and the more and more that it got closer to baseball, it seems like everybody was like, "Hey, podcast,
let's do it. Let's go."
And I'm like, man, we promised all these big things, and then your seasons got going, and then my seasons got going, and then we were never able to really get any coaches on board because the schedules never seemed to align. We had 3 teams last year for the Yetis, and then, practice every day, and then you get games and then scrimmages and blah, blah, blah. It just didn't work out. So I'm trying to jump ahead and get some things started early so that way we can hopefully get some coaches back on here, and I'll try and keep an update on the OVACs and state rankings and everything like that, like I did last year, a little better. So we're going to dedicate Wednesday nights to podcast nights.
Love it.
And if we can get more coaches and get different coaches on from last year, then that's what we're going to try to do. So Wednesday's podcast days.
Get Coach Perks on here, and I want to hear about the inside move to second base.
I can't tell you that one.
I need to know it.
We can't tell you that one.
There's going to be a time and day where I hire somebody from Toronto solely for the purpose of figuring out this inside move.
Here's what I'll tell you. You have a really good chance, maybe, after Braxton graduates and if Coach Perk retires.
Yeah,
I may come out there and do a full session on this inside move. But
I need it.
let's just say that we work on pickoff moves as much as you work on bunting.
I bet you guys do, and that's why it's the best. I love it.
So thank you again, Coach, man. I appreciate it. We'll touch base, obviously, throughout the year with travel ball and your season as well. So I'll definitely shoot you a message and see how things are going. Good luck to you, and good luck to the Huskies, man.
I appreciate it. Go Huskies. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
See you guys.
See you.